Alright, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Muli po tayo nagbabalik sa napakaganda reaction video. Ako po si Opinion and Reaction PH. Panoorin at reaksyonan po natin ito napakaganda reaction video. Pero bago po tayo magpatuloy sa ating reaction video, huwag nyo naman po kalimutan pindutin ang like, share, at subscribe.
Okay, ma'am, we begin with a tale of two surveys. Actually, Palace Press Officer Undersecretary Kler was talking about first there was a survey saying majority of the Filipinos want the Vice President to face trial, but then again there is another survey which I think the Vice President discussed in her own interview, saying that there are 42% of Filipinos who disagree with the complaint. How do you read this and how do you reconcile those two surveys?
Well, regardless of these surveys, RG, I will just say that the Vice President has already spoken about this. We have an impeachment an impeachment spokesperson, so in the person of Attorney Michael Poa. But just to let you know, the Vice President, as I said, has already spoken. She's ready actually for any trial if and when it proceeds, but it's up to her lawyer, and she listens to her lawyer, whatever legal strategies that they will do, or whether or not they would have to get clearance from the Supreme Court first before anything else. So the Senate and the House of Representatives would also have to comply. It's up to the Supreme Court now, and it's actually up to the counsels of the Vice President on how to go about the impeachment case.
Ma'am, you referred to the Supreme Court case. That is actually being criticized by critics of the Vice President who believe that this petition that is pending before the Supreme Court actually undermines the Vice President's own position of readiness for the trial, because the petition itself would junk the complaint at the level of the Supreme Court and stop a trial. I mean, how would you address those criticisms?
Well, of course, the Vice President is also a lawyer, and I'm sure that she will leave everything to the decision of the Supreme Court. Whatever the highest court of the land says, the Vice President will comply.
Okay, ma'am. Of course, the impeachment complaint, of course, we know, is hinged primarily on the confidential funds. And of course, we are coming into another budget season in Congress. How is the Office of the Vice President preparing for another round of budget negotiations with Congress, given the context of this impeachment?
First of all, the Office of the Vice President did not anymore have confidential funds for the year 2024. And again, this year, we are not asking for any more confidential funds. It's the meager budget that we were given last year was the one reiterated for this year's, for next year's budget. So, it's up to also the Department of Budget and Management, which they also already have provided or given to the Office of the Vice President. And I understand that this amount is also what will be submitted to Congress, to the House of Representatives for approval, and then to the Senate.
Undersecretary, if there are no confidential funds, what projects instead will the Office of the Vice President be spending its budget, proposed budget on for 2026?
We have all the regular programs that we've had since we began in 2022. And these are the plans and programs and activities of the Office of the Vice President that we're simply continuing with the budget that we have allocated or have proposed for next year. Then we will be able to continue with the plans and programs and the projects that we already have.
Do you still have satellite offices? Because I understand from the past budget hearings this was criticized.
Oh, yes, we still have. We're continuing the operation of the satellite offices all over the country. And with the budget that we have proposed for 2026, it will already cover the operation. It will continue to cover the operation of our satellite offices.
Aside from the satellite offices, you still have your regular livelihood projects, I understand. And I guess, do you still have the free bus rides?
Oh, yes, that those two that you mentioned are among the regular programs that the Office of the Vice President is undertaking. Libreng Sakay among others. Then we have the livelihood, like you said, it's called Magnegosyo Taday. And then we have all the other regular functions that we will continue also in 2026, given that the Department of Budget and Management had already made its recommendation to the House of Representatives.
And of course, I remember there were also, the Vice President also distributed some educational assistance through the bags to school children. Is that still continuing?
Oh, that's right. We have the Pagbabago program. This is 1,000,000 learners and 1,000,000 trees, considered also as a regular program of the Office of the Vice President. This program is budgeted, covered by the budget that has been approved by the Department of Budget and Management.
But one of the controversial aspects of the budget from last year was the book of the Vice President, Isang Kaibigan. Is that still in the budget?
The Office of the Vice President did not spend on that book. It was part of the. I understand that it was a gift or a grant from during the time that she was the Department of Education Secretary. But the Office of the Vice President does not have such program on that book.
Okay. Ma'am, going back to the budget, of course, last week you released a letter, or the OVP released a letter from the Commission on Audit on the unmodified opinion given to the agency. What does that mean for you?
Oh, yes, that's correct, RG. We had that letter from the Commission on Audit saying that they are giving the Office of the Vice President for 2024 budget the unmodified opinion, meaning that all the financial statements that we submitted do not contain or follow the presentation requirements in all material respects. So this means that the Commission on Audit saw that the financial statements were properly presented. There are no material misstatements, and so the unmodified audit opinion given to the Office of the Vice President for the year 2024 is also the same as it has given in 2023 and 2022. So all agencies, all government agencies actually receiving an unmodified opinion on their financial statements are, or well, in a way, it is a good thing for all government agencies, considering that there are only two kinds of audit opinions that may be granted: either modified, which is an opinion that no agency would want to receive, and then the unmodified audit opinion.
Given that, how do you think will the budget deliberations go, given that there are pending issues on the impeachment, specifically the confidential funds, which is, of course, a critical part of the impeachment? Is there anything in the COA's opinion that addresses the issues on the confidential funds?
Issues on confidential funds are already subject of the impeachment case, and also, I understand, subject of some cases in regular courts. For 2024, like I mentioned earlier, 2025 and 2026, there is no more request for confidential funds. So I hope that, well, the Office of the Vice President hopes that this time, during the budget hearing, the members of the committee initially will listen to what we would have to say in defense of our requested budget, or the budget that has already been recommended for approval by the Department of Budget and Management. It will not be very hard for us in the Office of the Vice President to explain the budget that we are requesting for the year 2026.
In the last year since the impeachment was filed, there has been a barrage of press releases and press statements from the critics of the Vice President in Congress asking her to explain the supposed fictitious names in the confidential funds. Of course, we can already guess that they will be asking this again during the budget deliberations. Can you give us an idea of how you will be responding to them if or when those are raised during the budget deliberations?
First of all, of course, like I mentioned, the confidential fund is already subject of the impeachment case and some cases filed in the Supreme Court. Because we will not be, or we are not requesting for any more confidential fund for 2026. I would probably, well, I'd probably think that it will no longer be pertinent in the hearing because the budget that we're requesting for this time for the year 2026 refers only to budgets to fund the regular programs of the Office of the Vice President.
Okay, ma'am, you're coming into the Vice President's office at a challenging time because, of course, there's this pending impeachment. There are cases that she's filed in the Supreme Court. And, of course, there are controversies surrounding the family of the Vice President. How have you settled into your new role?
I actually, like you mentioned earlier, RG, I actually did apply to the Office of the Vice President. Because I knew there was something, somehow there is something that I can do to help. And so since that time, up to now, I have already prepared myself. My eyes are wide open in all the challenges that I'm set to face, given this task. So, I guess I can say that it's only a matter of preparation, RG.
What was the basis for when you were introduced last week? One of the first things you said is that you are ordered not to be an attack dog. Can you explain to us why was that decision? Why is there that deliberate decision for you not to be an attack dog?
Because since I am spokesperson for the Office of the Vice President as an institution, my role is simply to highlight or emphasize the accomplishments of the Office of the Vice President. And since the beginning, we know that the Vice President herself has been set to deliver basic services, social services for the welfare of everyone in the country. So, given this, I am not here to attack anyone or to besmirch anyone's reputation. I'm simply here to promote the accomplishments and the plans and programs of the Office of the Vice President, maybe as well as the official acts of the Vice President herself. And my role is limited to that. No politicking, no bickering, no fight picking. I will have to be simply forthright in delivering the message coming from the Office of the Vice President.
How do you feel about being compared to your counterpart in Malacanang, Palace Press Officer Kler Castro?
Well, of course, maybe we should stop comparing. Maybe I should stop being compared to Undersecretary Castro. We are both professionals and we're both just doing our jobs, I understand. So that she can also let me do my job, I let her do her job. So no comparison actually is necessary, RG.
Okay. Earlier, during Katrina Domingo's report, she also talked briefly about your background, and you had served as a legal counsel to Charlie Atong Ang in the distant past. So, do you feel that is going to affect your credibility now as a spokesperson for the Vice President?
No, I don't think it will affect my credibility as spokesperson. I was in private practice a good part of my career being a lawyer for the last 31 years. So, yes, I was counsel for him, but I did my job as counsel, as defense counsel, and I don't think it should affect my work here or my credibility as spokesperson for the Office of the Vice President.
Okay, ma'am, let's circle back to the Vice President and the impeachment. Previously, the Vice President said she wants a bloodbath. Her critics have said or have criticized that or taken that literally. But for you, as the spokesperson, what does that bloodbath comment refer to?
That is a comment made by the Vice President, so I shouldn't really comment about that, RG. But just to say, the Vice President is ready, whatever the Supreme Court says, whether we proceed to trial or not, the Vice President is ready. She's prepared.
Okay. Ma'am, the Vice President, of course, is a political officer, and while we have just finished with one election, people cannot stop speculating about the next national election, which is 3 years from now. And the Vice President has figured prominently in early surveys for 2028, the presidential elections of 2028. So is the 2028 presidential campaign something that the Vice President has discussed with you in her team in the Office of the Vice President? Are there any serious discussions, and what can you tell us?
She has not discussed that with me, and I don't think she would have discussed that with anyone in the Office of the Vice President. What we do here is we deliver basic services. We deliver efficient and competent service for the people, especially for the unserved and the underserved. And we take it one day at a time, RG. Whatever happens next year or in 2027 or in 2028, we are not looking that far ahead because there is still so much to do. The Office of the Vice President has still so much plans and programs that we need to undertake to fulfill the promise that she made to those who voted for her, for the 32.4 million people who voted for her in 2022. And that's what we are focused on right now.
Okay, ma'am, national politics has been polarized between the Vice President and, of course, the President for quite some time now. Where do you think is this going? And do you think this will be resolved? Is there any possibility for any reconciliation between the two top leaders of the country?
Oh, yes. The Vice President has already, I understand, spoken about that. Maybe perhaps she will be open if what she mentioned in another interview will take place. But of course, we allow the Vice President to answer that herself. RG?
Okay. Recently, the Office of the Vice President made very public call-outs of media outfits who came up with reports which the Office of the Vice President deemed were inaccurate. This, of course, triggered a reaction from some media outfits and journalists who believe there is a better way of seeking corrections. How is this going to be a policy going forward, and where do you stand as far as press freedom is concerned?
Of course, press freedom is very important to all of us, and everyone right now in the country exercises that right to press freedom, even the Vice President herself, even the Office of the President, Malacanang for that matter. And whatever is spoken in public should be the truth. We cannot give lies or unverified opinions or unnecessary comments if we are not sure of what we said. And the Office of the Vice President merely wants or wishes that the media in the country or the journalists in the country would observe the code of conduct and ethical standards for journalism and not, how do I say it, not say things that are not true or not peddle lies.
But are you going to continue with those public statements against or calling for corrections in certain reports?
Yes, I believe so. If there are untruths or if there are lies that are said about the Office of the Vice President or the Vice President herself, like I said, we hope that journalists or media people in the country would adhere to the code of ethics and the code of conduct and ethical standards for journalism. And I understand that it says you cannot say lies or unconfirmed reports or baseless allegations because this will make the people believe, and you besmirch the reputation of one person whether or not you know that what you're saying is not true or is unfounded.
Okay. Ma'am, let's go back to the issue of surveys. Given the past controversies hounding the Vice President, her trust and approval ratings have remained relatively high. Where do you think is that high approval and trust rating coming from?
I would think that the public sees the vice president as a working vice president. She's honest and she's sincere, and she serves the underserved. She serves the unserved. She goes out of her way to make sure that everybody benefits from the office of the vice president, because this is the office that she holds and there are promises that she has made. So I think that could contribute a lot to the high approval rating of the vice president.
I know that you are not part of the legal team, but of course, impeachment is partly political as well as it is legal. So at some point, how will you be addressing the allegations on a public level? Because impeachment, of course, is a legal battle, and of course, when the allegations are addressed there, they will be addressed from a legal point of view. But insofar as the public that is waiting for an explanation on the allegations against her, what is your plan in terms of communicating where the vice president stands on all of these allegations? Are you going to be pursuing an exclusively legal track, or will you at some point be addressing directly the public?
RG, sorry, I apologize. That's a very long question, but I have to say that anything pertaining to the impeachment trial will have to be addressed by Attorney Michael Poa. But I will just say that yes, the Vice President will continue to abide by legal standards and legal strategies. Anything that will have to be done in an impeachment case would be in accordance with law and rules.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, OVP spokesperson Ruth Castello. Thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
Yes, thank you very much, RG. Good morning.